Chapter 4: Sending and Receiving Thoughts. Telepathy, as you know, is the ability of one mind to communicate with the mind of another without the aid of any physical media. Just how this communication takes place, what modus operandi or energies are involved, no one yet knows. In my book, Thoughts Through Space, I conjectured that the answer might be contained in the electrical activity of mind. This implied the existence of an electromagnetic field, operated in some manner by the controlling entity, which originated as well as received electrically charged forms or impulses. Science has disclosed through the electroencephalograph that the electrical currents in the brain can be recorded and measured. It has been observed that mental and emotional disturbances set up electrical storms in the brain, reflective of the excitation in consciousness. I had noted, as reported, that intensity of feeling seemed to generate more energy and case thoughts to be more strongly projected. Cerebral currents, however, are extremely weak. There does not seem to be enough electrical energy to account for the reception of thoughts at a great distance, or even for that matter, in the next room. Some years ago, I ventured this suggestion that there might be a form of mental energy functioning in and through a beyond space and time mental ether, which could not be detected by instrument. There may be some merit to this presumption, since Russian as well as American scientists recently have proved by experiment that sensitives can be enclosed in shielded Faraday cages or in booths lined with thick lead slabs, all of which insulate against any possibility of receiving electromagnetic waves from without. Yet telepathic influences have been sent and received just the same, despite the elaborate shielding. What does this indicate? It certainly suggests a power more subtle, more penetrating, and less limited than any power we know today. It further suggests that man, the possessor of this power in his own individual consciousness, is still in the embryonic stage of his own development. That his total being extends far beyond the physical instrument through which he is, at present, manifesting. We need to encourage the use of E.S.P. Just as in the case of electricity, which we use in so many serviceable ways without knowing fundamentally what it is, we are now able to induce and to use E.S.P. on occasion, even though we do not yet understand its basic nature. If we do not utilize the knowledge we now have, we never will get beyond the beginning stages of our development. It will be as though we had stopped experimenting with radio shortly after we discovered it and had remained content with the spasmodic, undependable radio wave reception developed by Marconi. There is every evidence that much more is waiting just beneath the surface of mind, awaiting man's exploration and development. In some of my recent lectures, I have asked for a show of hands from all those who are convinced that they have had one or more experiences with E.S.P. A great majority testified to having had these experiences. However skeptical any individual may have been as to the genuine existence of E.S.P. prior to a personal experience, it takes only one such adventure to impress him for all time with E.S.P.'s reality. Ever after, such a person is eager to know more about these mind mysteries and perhaps ways in which he can repeat his E.S.P. experience. But usually he has been prevented by lack of an authoritative knowledge of details or instruction in method of procedure. Here then, as well as I can put them into words, are explanations and instructions which should be helpful to you. Since this is not a cut and dry textbook, however, you will find I pause to insert necessary material, interesting material, or both where it seems advisable. The instruction is there, however, even if it is not arranged as it is in some other books. Remember now, the 7 different levels of consciousness I have outlined. They are your conscious level, your subconscious level, your memory level, your creative power level, your healing power level, your intuitive level, and your cosmic consciousness level. Ordinarily, one or more of your levels of consciousness springs into action to serve you without your ever being conscious of its individual functioning in your behalf. You know merely that the answer or guidance you have required from your mind has been supplied to you, but you cannot say how your conscious mind, in fixing its attention upon a need or desire, has activated one or more of the other mind levels. For illustration, you have an experience which is perceived by your conscious mind through one or more of your 5 physical senses. This experience is reported immediately to your subconscious, and the machinery of your mind goes to work to record and digest it. Normally, your subconscious body control level controls the functioning of all organs of your body when your mind and your emotions are at rest or at least at peace. There is nothing to interpret or disturb the rhythmic and harmonious flow of energy from one interrelated organ to another. But as various experiences in life occur, the unhappy and tragic experiences interfere with this body control center, causing such effects as shortness of breath, heart palpitation, and indigestion, to name only a few. These effects are created by waves of feeling, which apparently have the capacity to leave their imprint upon every cell. The effect of wrong feelings is not removed until the feelings themselves are changed. Simultaneously, on your memory level, the mental images relating to any experience combined with the emotions this experience has aroused are recorded. They associate themselves, like attracting like in the realm of mind, with all other previously recorded experiences of a like nature. If the dominant feeling beyond an experience has been one of fear, then all similarly recorded fears are intensified by this addition, and so on. You see, your memory level exists for the purpose of enabling your conscious mind to draw upon its storehouse of past experiences and to apply what these experiences should have taught you toward meeting and solving new problems. It follows that if you permit this memory storehouse to be filled mostly with mental pictures of fear and inadequacy and wrong emotional reactions to life, you will have little to draw upon of any constructive value. It is the job of your creative power of mind, which exists in the next highest level of consciousness, to take all that has happened to you in the past, now stored in your memory, and to help you build your future from it. Each time a new experience is recorded in your memory, your creative power is activated to do something about it. But it cannot function until you tell it what to do by a decision that you make with your conscious mind. Many experiences stored away in the memory are not used for years, if ever, because you have had no conscious desire to face them again or to profit by them, and you may even have tried to bury them through conscious forgetfulness. The experiences are there, nevertheless, and they are influencing your behavior on subconscious levels, whether you realize it or not. Your healing power level is related to your memory level because it must react to every experience you are having. Every physical and mental exertion calls for a recreative, re-energizing response from this healing power. It is constantly at work, replacing untold millions and billions of dying and dead cells. It seems to possess a blueprint of your physical body and to know just what is needed to make repairs. It also seems to sense these needs instantly as each experience occurs, whether this experience be physical, mental, or both. But again, the functioning of this healing power level can be upset, as in the case of your subconscious body control level, by feelings of fear, inadequacy, and the like. On the other hand, strong feelings of faith, self-confidence, and courage stimulate this healing power to perform seeming miracles. Your intuitive level is a level wherein all of your lower senses related to the physical body merge into the higher senses. This is a level which contains your E.S.P faculties. Because you, in common with most human creatures, have not learned to recognize and to rely upon their performance, you are seldom aware of their manifestation. Many times, however, their sensory work is so fused under the guise of what you call intuition that you are helped in making decisions or meeting emergencies by perceptive flashes entirely beyond the capacity of your physical senses. Sometimes a life experience is so filled with feeling and urgency that this intuitive level is activated and your E.S.P faculties take over, transmitting or receiving impressions of a protecting or guiding nature. You may then testify to having had a genuine demonstration of E.S.P, even though you cannot explain how it happened. You can reach your cosmic consciousness level only through exercise of your E.S.P faculties. This is a level wherein your total being is linked with what must be described as the God presence or the God consciousness. It is a timeless and spaceless level to which you attain by deep and sincere meditation, and wherein you become conscious of an internal voice which says, I am I, to you. This is the place beyond name and physical substance. It is where the tangible, as we understand words, meets the intangible. It is the center of your being, around which revolve all these lower levels of consciousness. Here you have access to a union with God, the great intelligence, in accordance with your own developed capacity to receive and to become aware. You need not give up your own free will. Although this fundamental relationship exists, I am convinced in the consciousness of all life throughout the unthinkably vast universe, you are not compelled to be subservient to it or even consciously aware of it. You must desire of your own free will to make atonement. Tragically, countless human creatures have become so involved on lower levels of their beings with the physical aspects alone that they rarely, if ever, sense this higher power. It is on the cosmic consciousness level that all life experiences are reviewed by your entity, and there is magically built into your entity or soul the essence of what you have become in this life. What you are at the present moment can be said to be equal to the sum total of everything that has happened to you, plus the way you have reacted mentally and emotionally to it. You came into this life with a consciousness upon which experience was to be imprinted. You are taking with you, when you leave this life, the essence of this experience to be used elsewhere. It is inconceivable to me that it could be otherwise as I observe the miraculous functioning of the stupendous machinery of mind, which records all events in such enduring and minute fashion in preparation for ever greater and greater development and achievement. Why arrange this tremendous expenditure of energy in even one little human organism in mind if its end results are to be snuffed out by the mere dissolution of the so-called material instrument? How very much is concealed beneath the surface of every human creature, of all life for that matter. You are far more wonderful than you ever imagined. You should therefore raise immeasurably your estimate of yourself and your potentialities for development and advancement. How to put aside the physical part of your being. Equipped as you now are with this background knowledge of the functioning of mind, you are ready to give thought to the mental mechanics of telepathy. Since the transmitting and receiving of impressions has nothing to do with the physical, your first step toward the development of your E.S.P powers must be in the direction of putting this physical aside. You must be able to become temporarily unself-conscious of the existence of your physical body. This is accomplished by first relaxing your body completely and then withdrawing the attention of your conscious mind from this body and its contact with the outer world. There is a particularly effective method of relaxation which I have used for many years and have described in several books. Proceed as follows. Lie comfortably upon a sofa or bed, or seat yourself in a chair that is truly comfortable for you. You should feel as though the chair or sofa or bed is supporting your entire weight and relieving you of effort. Calmly fix the full attention of your conscious mind on one leg. Allow an effort of your will to cause this leg to rise out in front of you or upward as the case may be. When you begin to feel some muscular strain, let go of this leg with your mind. Let it fall as though it has dropped from your body. Withdraw your conscious mind's attention from this leg and concentrate in the same way upon the other leg. Do the same with the other leg. Lift upward or outward. Pause. Let go with your mind. Let that leg too fall as though it had dropped from your body. Now fix the attention of the conscious mind upon one arm. Extend it, hold it briefly, and when you begin to feel strain, take away your attention and let it drop limply. Shift your attention to the other arm, lift it, hold it, take away the mental power that supports it, let it drop. Fix the attention of the conscious mind upon the trunk of your body. Now withdraw the attention slowly and steadily, beginning at the hips and moving upward, as though a wave were traveling from hips to head, releasing the hold of the mind upon the body. This brings an increasing sensation of lightness and a release of tension, as though you were stepping outside your body. As the wave of lightness reaches your neck and head, let your head drop forward on relaxed neck muscles, if you are sitting, or let your head loll back upon the sofa or bed. With some practice, this completes the letting go of the body by the mind. In fact, when you have practiced these progressive steps of relaxation, you will find you can dispense with the intermediate steps and, by an act of will, let go of your entire body with your conscious mind. Now you are no longer conscious of your existence in your physical body. You are ready to turn the attention of your conscious mind inward to make suggestive contact with your intuitive level of consciousness. To do this, you are deliberately bypassing your subconscious body control, your memory, your creative power, and your healing power levels. Your entity, your awareness of being, has centered upon and has become a part of this intuitive level of consciousness. But to maintain contact with this intuitive level and to prevent other levels from impinging upon it, you must be able to visualize some object as a focal point for your conscious mind's attention. I hit upon the idea of a blank, white, motion picture screen which I imagined was stretched across the dark room of my inner consciousness. You can employ this same device if it appeals to you. Should you not be able to readily picture this mental screen in your mind's eye, let yourself feel that it is there as a means of keeping your attention focused. Now the stage is set. Your body is relaxed, your conscious mind passive, and its attention is focused inward upon this visualized, blank, white motion picture screen. By this simple technique, you have kept out what would otherwise result in a constant stream of fragmentary body feelings and impressions stemming from other levels of consciousness. As it is, you have only to let yourself think of the individual from whom you wish to receive a telepathic message and then await, with a self-confident inner feeling of anticipation, the inner sighting of mental images as they fleetingly cross your mental screen. Once these mental images appear, it is your task to remember what you have mentally seen and to interpret and record your impressions as quickly and completely as you can. I need to emphasize here that these mental images are indeed fleeting. They come and they are gone, bringing a feeling impact with them. Sometimes you will be left with what I call a knowing sensation, as though you have been told some specific information at some previous time which you are now trying to recall from your subconscious. I believe in every case that a mental image accompanies whatever impression I may receive, but my mind on occasion is not fast enough to catch it. In most instances, however, I am left with what might be described as a reflection of the mental image in the form of a feeling. As I interpret this feeling, I am able to see in my mind's eye what may have happened in whole or in part, even if I have missed details of the mental image itself. To give you an idea of how fast these mental images travel, imagine with me that you are on a beach at night, surrounded by total darkness. You are looking up at a great field of stars overhead. All of a sudden, a meteor flashes across the sky against a background of darkness. It is gone in a second, leaving a luminous trail which dies out even as you look at it. Now let's pretend that that meteor represents a mental image of an experience that you are seeing in your mind's eye, picked up from the mind of a sender. This is something you never have seen before. There is nothing in your mind that is or should be related to it. You must interpret this meteoric flash or this impression on the basis of what you have mentally seen in that instant. But it is up to you to remember the details of your first mental sighting for as long as you can without straining in the trail that this event left behind. A feeling can be retained in consciousness once it is captured, long after the mental image itself has gone on its way. But you will find it difficult not to activate your memory and creative power levels if you try too hard to interpret an impression, because your imagination will seek to draw from memory some past experiences or knowledge of a similar or associative nature. If permitted, this leads to a coloring or a distortion of whatever genuine impressions you may have originally received. In receiving impressions, it will be necessary for you to school yourself to recall whatever comes to mind during your period of concentration, no matter how impossible or illogical the impressions seem to be. The moment you permit your conscious mind to intrude and its reasoning faculty to challenge you, you will be lost. Your conscious mind and its ordinary functions have, to all intents and purposes, be eliminated once you focus your attention upon the visualized blank white motion picture screen. Double exposure in the mind. You must be as accurately aware of the impressions being brought to you by your E.S.P faculties as you normally have been of the impressions produced by your 5 physical senses. To permit any of the latter to break through and to impose themselves upon you during your attempted reception would be like permitting double exposure on a film. Neither picture will come out clear, and there will be a confused mixture of both. This tendency of one phase of mind to interfere with another is one of the greatest deterrents to accurate telepathic reception. In all the years I have experimented with the receiving of impressions, I still have to guard against this possible interference. Not only that, when I have finished recording my impressions, I am always assailed by doubts as I study them, and often suffer genuine mental torment until these impressions are either confirmed or proved false. This happened time and again during my experiences in long-distance telepathy with Sir Hubert Wilkins. My reasoning faculty, trained to judge and evaluate what could be physically seen, heard, tasted, felt, and smelled, could not accept the testimony presented to me by my higher sensory faculties. I particularly recall my concern the night I had recorded my mental picture and strong impressions described in Chapter 3 that Wilkins had been forced down on a flight due to bad weather and had appeared at an Amethyst ball attired in an evening dress suit. I remember saying to my wife, "Martha, I have a feeling I'm all wet tonight, that I've let my imagination run away with me." Earlier this evening, before time for my mental appointment with Wilkins, I read in the paper about the Amethyst observance at Arlington Cemetery, and somehow, when I concentrated upon Wilkins, I seemed to see him involved in the Amethyst ball. More than that, I saw in my mind's eye men and women in military attire and evening dress, and then I saw Wilkins, who appeared to be in evening dress himself. As you know, Martha, I have had to discipline myself to write down whatever comes to me during these telepathic sessions, no matter how ridiculous it might seem, and then to analyze it afterward. Tonight, however, as I look back on what I have written, I know very well that Wilkins is flying north on a serious rescue mission, and I feel he would not take time out for such an event as an Armistice ball. Furthermore, I am certain he is not equipped with an evening dress suit. Martha counseled me to wait until I might receive a check report from Wilkins' diary and log by airmail. She urged me to clear my mind of doubt, meanwhile, so it would be free and undisturbed to engage in the next experiment at the appointed time. This I did, but I had moments of uneasiness, and nevertheless, you can imagine the sense of relief that came over me when Wilkins' report finally arrived and I learned I had been right about that dress suit. How to tune in on another mind. On one occasion, at the start of my experiments with Wilkins, I made a discovery that I believe will be of service to you as you develop your own telepathic ability. When I went through the technique described and fixed my mind upon Wilkins, I had the inner feeling after a few seconds that mental contact had been made. This is the kind of feeling you will have to experience for yourself. It cannot be put into words. It is a feeling of actual nearness to the individual, but not in the sense of a physical presence. It is as though a circuit has been closed between two minds so that what the sender is thinking and feeling can be simultaneously thought and felt by the receiver. In this case, however, my mind suddenly seemed to be filled with a kaleidoscope series of fragmentary impressions which could not be separated and which ran helter-skelter, back and forth across the threshold between my consciousness and subconscious mind. It was as though a number of radio broadcasting stations were coming in on the same wavelength. The effect was so confusing that I relinquished my attempt at receiving and tried to evaluate what was happening. The thought came to me that if I had actually been in touch with Wilkins' mind, I must have made contact with the mental images and events that had taken place at various stages in his life, all of which were coexistent in his consciousness. Just as Wilkins could recall any one or more of these from memory at will, it was now theoretically possible that my mind, attuned to his, could have access to these same recorded experiences. The problem I could now perceive was one of selectivity, and it was a problem. If I actually found myself connected with Wilkins' memory storehouse of past experiences, how would I be able to screen out everything from Wilkins' mind except that which I specifically wished to receive? It then occurred to me that the mind might function like a radio in yet another way. With the radio, when a certain station is desired, the dial is set at a definite frequency, so many kilocycles or megacycles, and the station broadcasting at the point is brought in. Could I, then by exercising the power of suggestion, direct my E.S.P faculties to operate in a limited time area, tuned in, and thus separated from all other thoughts which might be resident in consciousness? The experiment certainly was worth trying because I could see that I was not going to get anywhere by proceeding as I had started. Repeating my relaxation of mind and body, fixing my attention on a visualized blank white motion picture screen, and sending out the mental call for Wilkins, I then gave myself this strong suggestion. Determine for me what outstanding things have happened to Wilkins this day or what is happening to him now. With my mind in this relaxed and highly sensitized state, the suggestion took almost immediate effect. The conglomeration of thought forms and feelings disappeared, and there began to flash across my mental screen images and feelings which I was able to translate into words, and which at time went on, and the tests were continued on regular schedule, were proved to possess a high degree of accuracy. Most significant of all, with very few exceptions, the scores of impressions received pertained to events that had taken place that day and which Wilkins had reviewed in his mind, or to thoughts and happenings which had been occurring at the exact time of the mental communication. This fact demonstrated conclusively to me that the tuning in suggestion given to my mind each night at the start of each test provided the selectivity that I needed. You may find that this simple suggestive device will greatly aid you in the attempt at any like experiment. I have employed it at various times and on different occasions throughout my life, and it has always been effective. E.S.P pioneers learn by experience. Up to this point, I have dealt much more with the technique of receiving than that of sending. This is because the basic responsibility and the burden of proof always rests with the receiver. In many instances, it is not even necessary for the sender to be concentrating upon you at the time you pick up their thoughts. When the experiments with Wilkins were arranged, it was intended that he should always make himself available at the appointed time when I was concentrating on him in New York. He had planned to be off by himself in some quiet, secluded place where he could sit and review and relive in mental picture form his outstanding experiences of the day and will then strongly send them to me. It was not long, however, before unforeseen demands on Wilkins prevented him from keeping many appointments. But to his astonishment and mine, there was no decrease in the accuracy of impressions I received. This led Wilkins to conclude that I was getting these impressions from his subconscious and that it was not essential to be consciously sending them to me at the appointed time. As a consequence, Sir Hubert formed the habit of concentrating on me at odd times of the day or night, and when he knew in advance that he could not keep our appointments, he did this with the faith and the confidence that I would receive his strongly willed thoughts on subconscious levels of the mind, and that I would pull them over into my conscious awareness when I made my mind receptive on schedule. How much this practice may have contributed to the uniform success we achieved in transmitting and receiving is difficult to determine. I know that the first time I realized Wilkins had not been concentrating upon me when I was recording impressions which I felt were being received from his mind, I suffered quite a shock. I had naturally accepted in those pioneering days that there could be no conscious reception of a thought unless it was being consciously sent at the same time. What I had not sufficiently realized is this important fact. Each experience, once recorded in consciousness, continues to exist in picture and mental feeling form and is available through memory recall at any future time to the experiencer as well as to the sensitive who may be attuned to the experiencer's mind. Remember, I have stated that events are stored in mind, associated with the degree of intensity of feeling that each event has aroused in the subject. When I specified that I wished to receive impressions of the outstanding happenings in the life of Wilkins, I did so knowing that such happenings would have made the deepest emotional impact upon him. This is true in the life of any individual. Many of the impressions that I received and recorded about Wilkins, he did not consciously will toward me at any time, but they were accurate just the same, and he had reacted personally and privately with strong inner feelings toward these thoughts and experiences when they had occurred. This was all that had been needed for me to be able to sense them. The mind records everything. If thoughts are not electromagnetic in nature, as we at present understand electromagnetism, they must have a rate and character of vibration, and the quality of feeling must in some way be related to it. As a sensitive, you are dealing basically with feelings at all times. It is how you feel and what you feel and where and when and why that must be interpreted by you and translated into words. For instance, when I received the impression from Wilkins of the dead dog on the ice, I saw him in my mind's eye looking down upon the dog. I saw him examine the animal and find it had been shot through the head, and I felt him wondering why the dog had been killed. This impression hit my consciousness in a flash and was gone, but the feelings lingered on, thus enabling me to express the event which had caused them. On one occasion, I picked up impressions of Wilkins and his men playing ping pong in the far north. From the conscious mind standpoint, this was a most unlikely event. It was later confirmed as having taken place that very day. I once also heard in my mind's ear the scratchy tunes of an old-fashioned phonograph playing old-time songs. That day, Wilkins actually had listened to an old gramophone, the prized possession of the son of an outpost friend. Here were two experiences among many which left their emotional impact in mind, yet had nothing to do with the expedition in search of the lost Russian flyers and were not considered by Wilkins worthy of conscious transmission to me. Such telepathic pickups as this indicate that everything that happens to an individual is recorded without discrimination. However, it is well to observe that the experiences which command the most vital attention of the subject are the ones which register most intensely in consciousness. For purposes of your own experimentation, it is better and less complicating, of course, if your sender is concentrating at the same time you are. You can more easily check and be sure of results. The sender should practice the same technique I have described for the receiver, relaxing body and mind and visualizing the existence of a mental screen in consciousness. Then he should picture whatever he wishes to transmit as though he is projecting it on this screen. Having done this, he should will that this image be transmitted to the mental screen of the receiver. A certain time should be allowed the sender of each transmission of whatever he selects, such as an E.S.P card symbol or an object or a color, an actual human experience, or an idea. Then he should clear his screen following each transmission before he concentrates on the next, thus giving the receiver equal opportunity to clear his own screen. To operate successfully in this fashion requires a synchronizing of the time between sender and receiver. Once that experiment is begun, a half hour is sufficient because an element of nervous fatigue affects both sender and receiver in about that length of time. An energy exchange or expenditure of some kind undoubtedly occurs. The receiver, however, is always more depleted than the sender. This is perhaps due to the necessity for maintaining a high degree of receptivity while holding all of the other levels of mind in abeyance. You now possess enough basic knowledge to enable you to begin sending and receiving. Consider that you are practicing just as you might expect to practice in order to become a good violinist or pianist or to attain any other skill. Some may find that telepathic powers come to them with relative ease. Others will have to try longer and harder. But if you are willing to persist, if you believe in your E.S.P powers, you are certain in time to bring them under your conscious control and direction. Neither I nor nobody else can tell you exactly how successful you will become. You may make some startling breakthroughs that transcend everything done before because the horizon of the mind has no limit. A few things that we've learned in Chapter 4. Thoughts can be transmitted from mind to mind under conditions that would defeat radio propagation. Such thoughts may move on a yet unknown ether that permeates everything. Much will be discovered in E.S.P if we continue experimenting. Otherwise, our technique may remain at a level comparable to that of radio at the time of Marconi. Each of the 7 levels of consciousness has its own function. Often we do not realize which is being utilized by the conscious mind to help us solve our problems, to give us guidance. There is a fundamental relationship between life consciousness and the consciousness of the entire universe. Despite your attunement to the infinite, you still retain your own free will. What you are now is equal to the sum of all that has happened to you, and it appears that when you leave this life for another, you will take all your experiences with you. The mental mechanics of telepathy require complete relaxation. The 7-point method shown in this chapter gives you this relaxation. You will see that the mind exposed to thoughts in the ether picks them out in flashes, which sometimes you can't remember. When you experiment in thought transmission, start by synchronizing the time of sending and receiving. With practice, this may not be necessary.